Well, hello everyone. You join us again in the 2026 GMC Hummer EV SUV, and it's time to wrap up my impressions with this vehicle over the course of this week. So if you haven't checked out a full tour and review, definitely go have a watch at that. But we're gonna take a little bit more of a streamlined approach at summing up what this thing is like to live with this week of driving. So it's honestly really fun, and it's surprised me in a lot of ways. I mentioned this in our other driving impressions of this vehicle, but it's actually a lot easier to drive than you may think. Now, this SUV is shorter overall and a little bit smaller in lengthwise than the pickup truck with a different wheelbase and stuff. So that gives it a little bit of a different driving dynamics than said pickup truck. So if you've driven one of those and not this, you may have a different experience here. And honestly, around town and just in general situations of driving, this thing's really great. The air suspension soaks up pretty much any bump you could potentially think of, in addition to the absolutely colossal 35-inch tires on this one. We have the all-terrains on this one. You don't really feel much underneath you, which is really kind of cool. And a few different suspension modes really do change all of the dynamics of this Hummer EV, I would say. So we have the normal height, there's an increased ride height, and then obviously the wild extract mode height, which you can only opt in certain drive mode settings, accessed by this controller over here. It's a really, really tall vehicle at that point, and it really feels like you can conquer everything. You sit so high up in just the regular ride height that this car, you really feel like you're towering over absolutely everything on the road. So that's a really great point. Even on the highway, it's actually quite quiet, shockingly, even though it's not super aerodynamic. There's a little bit of some wind noise, and you'll notice when we got there on the sides of the vehicle though, but that's really it. Otherwise, day-to-day driving dynamics are pretty good. Same thing goes with just maneuvering this car. The four-wheel steering really does transform the experience of this vehicle and how you're able to maneuver it around. Same thing with that king crab mode and the crab walk features. It sounds like a silly little feature, but at the end of the day, it totally transforms how you drive such a wide and large vehicle on the road. It makes it feel easy. Visibility is generally pretty good, but like I mentioned in our full tour review, we have these turn signal cameras here which activate for both sides, which is really nice and incredibly helpful actually. Blind spot monitoring as well, and all these great safety features are on the vehicle. One pedal drive works great. You can adjust that and easily kind of manage that through the center screen there. We also have a low mode for our drive selectors over here, which kind of does a similar type of thing. And we also are getting our regen on demand paddle over here, which I really like as well. So I can kind of just do full regen whenever I want, which is nice, even if the one pedal driving was off. So all those points work really well. I do wish there was a way, and this goes for a lot of General Motors vehicles, to have like an auto brake hold on the system without having to use one of the regen modes. That seems to be the only way to kind of bring the vehicle to a stop, have it brake for you without putting it in park. Otherwise, if I just come to a stop myself, I'm holding the vehicle on the brake with myself, which totally fine, but just a convenience thing. I think it's probably something easily to be improved. Another crazy thing about this car is that it has a lot of power, over 800 horsepower. Oh my gosh. And that's not even our watts to freedom mode. So this is the 3X. So there's the 2X and the 3X. And all that really means is your motor designation. You either have 2 motors or 3 motors. Since we have the tri-motor SUV, we have the most power, over 800 horsepower, similar torque figures, even though they say, it's like 11,500 pound-feet of torque. In reality, when you're properly measuring it, it's around like that 800-ish figure. What's interesting for 2026 is that the pickup truck is actually getting the 3X version, at least, over like 1,100 horsepower. I think that's due to a larger battery pack that vehicle is able to fit. But this is still nuts. I think it's way more than you'll ever need. Even though this vehicle weighs like 9,000 pounds, it's still really quick. 0 to 60 happens in 3.5 seconds. It doesn't feel like something this big should be able to do that, but it does. And if you want to enter that watts to freedom mode, which is standard actually on this 3X model, there's no actual button anywhere that will say watts to freedom. So what you have to do is come to a complete and full stop as we're gonna do right here. We're not gonna enter it right now in launch, but what you do is you press this traction control button twice. It's gonna say, oh, there we go. Cool graphic there. Vehicle will lower for maximum acceleration. You press OK, the vehicle lowers, and you're gonna see this really cool, unique display gauge here. There's really crazy sound being pumped in all around you. And when you are in launching mode, it'll actually tell you to slam your foot and gas on both pedals and then just launch. Let your foot off the brake and keep your foot slammed on the accelerator and you will fly off. And it tells you how much pressure actually, just keep pressing as hard as you can, which is kind of cool. But yeah, this mode is nuts. This unlocks the full power, and even just regular acceleration situations, this mode is very, very, very aggressive. So not something to be using on a day-to-day basis, but you have it available to you. I'll give you guys a little bit of a quick taste of what this looks like here without doing a full launch, but oh my gosh, that's nuts. The whole SUV just like launches forward. It all tilts up a little bit. It feels like you're on like a drag strip or something, but you just press traction control again and that disables it. You can see all your other drive modes there. But in all seriousness, as an SUV, this is actually really, really nice. Materials, like I mentioned in our full touring review, could be a little bit nicer in here. There's no actual real leather option, which is pretty interesting, but I like all the tactile physical buttons. I like how it's largely a unique design to the GMC Hummer lineup as well. It's a lot of unique components. I really appreciate that in this vehicle. Steering wheel is pretty cool looking. We have Super Cruise, the new generation of Super Cruise we'll look at on the highway. And I love the rear camera mirror here. It's kind of an essential in this car as it's so far back the end of the vehicle, and it's so kind of squinted, just like how this front windshield is. It's kind of difficult to see sometimes. Other cool feature here is we also have these 3 wipers. Gotta love that. That's an awesome little touch, but you kind of need it because of how large this windshield is. And we have the removable roof panels, which is honestly a blast to drive around with. Let's go head out onto the highway now and see how this thing performs there. Making it out here onto the highway, you're gonna notice, again, the Hummer EV is actually really quiet. I'm really surprised by this for a few different reasons. A, it's a giant box on wheels, so that isn't the most aerodynamic thing you may think at first. But what's really interesting is that even with these removable roof panels, which literally have nothing here when they're gone, like there's no support here, we have frameless windows, it's really quiet. Even passing other cars on the road, you just hear like a faint sound of that car going by. It's really, really damped out. I really was surprised by that, actually. There is, again, some wind noise coming from these giant side mirrors over here, but it's, again, not super, super annoying or loud. We have a pretty good sound system in here. It's nothing outstanding with the Bose system, so that kind of cancels it out a lot most of the time. And otherwise, as you can hear, I don't have to really speak loudly or shout in here. Even with all these 4 removable roof panels with this particular option, it's really quiet, which is nice. Out here on the highway as well, we have this new Super Cruise system to test out. Now, you might be saying, what's new? Well, we have the ability now to use the lane change assist and lane keep assist and steering assist without the hands-free drive. So previously, with Super Cruise systems, you had either radar adaptive cruise control or Super Cruise. That was it. Now we have an in-between option that combines the radar adaptive with the benefits of Super Cruise, but you still have to have your hands on the wheel. So a lot of other vehicles have been doing this for quite some time, but I'm glad that this is now available onto this vehicle, because I think it's something that we've needed for quite some time. As a little bit of an in-between option here. So since there is a lot of traffic on the highway today, as there always is, I'm going to turn on our adaptive cruise system right there. Let's put it to a good speed, and we'll make sure our Super Cruise stuff is on. So we have hands on, lane centering is active, keep hands on the wheel. So that's what this new system is saying. And when there's availability for the full self-driving like we have right now, or the hands-off driving, that will turn on and will alert you on the screen right there. You do still have the ability to change these displays, so we can go to, okay, well, it's changing lanes for me right now, actually. It does like to cut off people, I've noticed. There's an auto lane change function, as well as the manual lane change function. I have it on auto / manual, so it kind of does it based off where it kind of wants to go, which is kind of funny. But as I was saying, you can change these displays. So we have a driver assistance display. This is pretty much the same across all GM vehicles these days. I wish they were kind of making these a little bit more customizable per vehicle, but other than just the graphics in the background. But you know, you see your lane systems on, your distance control, as well as you're in the Super Cruise mode as well, and all that information is available in all of these displays. Same thing with the Google Maps display here, so you can see all of that tucked in this little corner there, which is nice to see. I like the regular gauge view, is pretty nice as well. So that's really it with the Super Cruise system. It works well. Every vehicle I've tested from General Motors that has Super Cruise, I love it. I've gone genuinely like 2 hours almost on a highway a few times in one of these test vehicles on Super Cruise with no issues, other than some construction stuff. But it really works really good. It's pretty trustworthy. But again, even in the hands-free off modes, I still like to keep my hands pretty much close to the wheel or on the wheel, because you never know when something could potentially happen. It's not a full self-driving system, even if I may have accidentally said that before, but it's more of a supervised system in that sense, even though it works really well. But yeah, this GMC Hummer EV is a really good road tripper at the end of the day, which has shocked me. Even if it's not particularly efficient, it's really comfortable on the highway. It has a truly colossal amount of storage space, and now we have other cool features like, you know, if you're camping a lot, you have bi-directional charging. If you have another EV around with you, got to charge up or power a campsite or power some accessories, you have that ability. You get well north of 300 miles of range. This one's claiming at, I think, full charge on this particular vehicle, it's saying it could do over 350 miles of range, which is pretty good. I would expect a decent amount of range out of a 170-ish kilowatt-hour battery pack, but yeah, it's pretty cool. And if we go to our efficiency for an example here, we're getting 1.7 miles per kilowatt hour over this trip. Now, I've only traveled 7 miles, but around 1.72 is pretty typical what I've seen over the course of this week of testing. We've driven around 200 miles now at this point. So yeah, that's what you'd expect out of a Hummer. Gas or electric, it isn't particularly efficient, but I honestly like this one better because you can charge it at home, charge it on the go. It's going to cost you some if you DC fast charges because it's such a large battery pack, but you're getting pretty good range out of it, and stuff like that. Now, this is another feature we have for 2026. Before we wrap up this video, it has Super Cruise built into the Google navigation system, so now it knows that we're following this route, so I need to manually take control here, which is kind of cool. And then once we kind of get back into the regular highway setting, it's going to reactivate Super Cruise, or at least it should. So we'll put this to the test right now. Going over these bumps, this is a really rough patch of pavement right here, guys. There's colossal craters in the road here. It handles it so well. Oh my gosh, it kind of just soaks it up. You can kind of feel each side of the vehicle handling all of these bumps. This turn signal and cameras here really come into handy on the highways here. And we're back onto our route, and it automatically Super Cruise re-engages. Oh, this is great. Oh, this works well. Okay. Awesome, GM. I want to see this on every vehicle now that has Super Cruise. This is really great stuff, and I'm pretty sure you get like a 3-year subscription automatically just by buying this new, which is pretty nice. So to sum up this week in the Hummer EV, it's almost like the ultimate Jeep Wrangler in that sense. You get removable roof panels, off-road capability, but it's an EV. You get that benefit on that. So instant power, instant torque, quiet experience. I don't know, it's really unique. There really is not much like it on the market, and I think that's why this car still stands out a lot against a lot of other competition, which is pretty cool. Nonetheless, thank you guys for joining me on yet another full tour and review over at Allcarnews, and as always, stay tuned for more coming soon. Cheers. Now, I do also want to give you guys a little bit of a quick audio test of this system here. I think an open top vehicle should have really good speakers, because if you're throwing a party or something, or you're having like a campsite, you want to play some music, all of these speakers should deliver you that really cool experience here. So let's test out this standard Bose premium audio system. We have speakers pretty much all around where they possibly can be, in these pillars here on the doors. Really cool kind of terrain style pattern speaker grills on the all 4 doors as well, which is a nice little touch. And let's have a little bit of a listen to this system with our typical audio test track here. Okay guys, it's a good audio system. Nothing outstanding, nothing's really blowing me out of the water, but I was actually pretty impressed with it. It's pretty clear. It doesn't really drone out too much stuff. It just kind of falls off a little bit at the higher end of the volume notes, but it's just a totally fine audio system. So have it as you will. There's a few settings in here. It really is actually quite limited to the amount of adjustments you can make, though I do like when you put up your volume control knob here, you do have this quick setting button to adjust all of your vehicle's volume settings, from like your phone volume, navigation volume, and all of that fun stuff. But you know, something in like a Cadillac is definitely like one of those higher end AKG systems. Will impress you, I can tell you that for sure, but this is pretty good. Maybe something could be a little bit nicer on offer since this vehicle is north of 100K. Who knows? We'll see what comes down the road.